I couldn't name you another barbecue restaurant in Greenville that I've eaten at.
Wow. Hey, this is Blake Davis with ProTech Inspections, joined by Will Schumacher of IES Roofing for episode 5 of our Truth Over Harmony podcast. Please take a moment to take a look at all of our contract partners as they support us and support you. And also take a moment to find us on Facebook and Instagram, Pro-Tech Inspections, and be sure to like and subscribe. Welcome, everybody, to episode 5 of Truth Over Harmony. We are joined by the one and only Mr. Will Schumacher.
Howdy.
From IES Roofing. Thank you for joining us this
Of course, brother.
Beautiful Tuesday morning.
It's drizzly. It's terrible outside.
Yeah, it's miserable. That's why you're actually here.
Yeah. We
Can't
moved
be
this up for
crawling
this.
on roofs right now.
Exactly.
So, had to fill in your schedule somehow, try and keep you busy.
Go.
So,
There we go.
Pleasure to have you here. So we're just going to jump right into it. One of the initial questions that we typically ask folks is how you kind of got started in your field, what got you into what you do. So what kind of got you into roofing / maybe make it a 2-for-1? What kind of caused IES Roofing to start up here in the Upstate?
Yeah, so that is a great question. Kind of going back, so my degree is actually in theology. I don't know if you knew that about me or not, Blake. So I studied to be a pastor. Obviously, I don't do that now. Still got the tattoos to prove it, but
right.
So got out of that, moved back to Maryland where I went to college. After I took a year off, met my wife, like whole nine. Got into selling personal training.
I do know this. Yep.
From
Seems
there,
like that was a career short-lived.
Honestly, dog, I crushed it. People would look at me and they'd be like, I can do that. That looks easy enough. Yeah. That doesn't seem that hard.
If you can do it, they can do it, right?
Exactly. They couldn't do it.
You're the most relatable personal training coach of all time.
I know. So kind of fumbling my way just through different sales careers, like as I moved. Outside of personal training, it was all in construction, right? Mm-hmm. So it was all in some kind of construction sales. Like that's how I put myself through college, was construction. So when we moved up here to Greenville about 1.5 years ago, it was kind of just figuring out like what I wanted to do, what I wanted to sell. Like I knew I wanted to be in a commercial space. So I was between commercial HVAC and commercial roofing. Mm-hmm. And I actually had a job offer from 2 different companies, on the table. One was HVAC, 2 were roofing. And so kind of just what got me down to it was, there was too much math in HVAC. Like roofing just is easier to measure. Like I didn't have to like calculate anything except for like square footage, and then I was good. I was done. Yeah. And then why IES? That's a great question. So my boss Kevin, he's the owner of the company. He's a great dude. Mm-hmm. He was impossible to get on the phone, right? So like when I first moved to Greenville and I was trying to like look for a job, find somewhere, what I did is I went through like different companies, right? And I would just cold call them. Right. And just, hey, my name's Will. I heard you were looking for amazing salesmen. That line works so well. It's unbelievable. And then, so when he answered the phone, he was like, well, that depends. Are you a guy or are you a service? And I was like, no, I'm a guy. Right. So we went through and he set up like 4 or 5 different like times that he was going to sit down and meet with me. And then he never confirmed and we never talked. Excuse me. So finally, like, I got in front of him. I think my interview was all of like 10 minutes long, right?
Which is either a really good thing or a really bad thing.
Well, no. So he basically told me, he was like, well, if you can be as persistent as you are with me, right, as with our potential clients, like you'll be just fine. Yeah. So I got the job. It really took me about 6 months of like not even selling, like just going out and working with crews, like sitting down with our project manager, sitting down with him and like figuring out what roofing is before I could kind of hit my stride and get into the sales side of it. Mm-hmm. But as far as for why IES, I don't know. I just like the honesty. I like that it was a smaller company, but it was still able to do larger projects. I like that it was family owned,
Yeah,
that's pretty much
which
it.
is kind of hard to find in roofing businesses these days.
Honestly, yeah. I mean, so for what I do, because I'm predominantly commercial, so flat roofs is like our bread and butter.
Right.
And when we're talking about, good flat roofers in the Upstate, there's really only a handful of them that are that small company vibe that can still do, larger projects.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, that kind of goes over why you got working with IES. Tell me a little bit about, y'all's game plan and storm chase and things like that. So we had that big storm that came through York the other week. And I know that you went on a little hiatus from being in the Upstate and went out there and chased
only a couple
some deals.
days.
But tell us kind of how that process works and why, why is it a better move, especially for a client or a homeowner, right? Why is it a better move for them to go with you guys in getting their roof or siding or whatever replaced after a big storm coming through versus, one of these big national companies that they might be coming in from Colorado or out west or something like that?
I got you. Yeah. So really, when you're talking about the insurance game and storm chasing and all of that, it's something that not all companies do. Like some companies are really just predominantly, they stay in their city, 30, 40 miles outside the city. And like, that's it. And I respect that. We don't really storm chase, right? Like we went up to Rock Hill, but Rock Hill's an hour and a half from my house.
Yeah. That's not that far.
Right. Like if something hit Myrtle Beach, it's still our state and we might not go after it just because there is enough work here for us to do.
Right.
But now that's not to say that if someone called us from Myrtle Beach or called us from, the coast that we wouldn't go out to them. Right. But as far as like just for cold calling and knocking on doors and stuff like that, like we do like to stick towards our area. So the benefit of us, because we are not like a national chain, because we're not like a huge roofer, like everyone that we deal with, we truly do care about their success from beginning to end. And especially with storm chasing, you'll have a ton of companies that will come out of the woodworks, right? And they'll promise you that they'll either eat your deductible, which is illegal, or they'll promise you upgrades for the same money, which is illegal. So they'll promise you all this stuff, but then as soon as that last check clears, like they're in the wind.
Yeah.
Like if you're calling a company from Colorado to come out and do your roof in South Carolina, and you legitimately expect them to come out and follow through with their 2-year contractor warranty, they won't. Like there's no way, because why would they? Right? The check's cleared, they're gone. It's going to cost them $1,000 to get a guy out here.
At least.
Minimum. Get a guy out here and fix that problem and then go back. And they're doing that not just in South Carolina, but like they're nationwide. Some of these companies are. Right. They're based out of like one state, but then they'll come from, or come out to everywhere. So at the end of the day, so I say you choose IES because, we care about you.
Right. So, kind of touching on that, when the storm's gone, they get their check, they maybe replace the roof and all that good stuff. You're saying they're gone. You're never really going to hear from them. Right. And if they're 6 states away, that checks out. Right.
Yeah.
So what is, maybe for some of the other folks that are local to the South Carolina area, what is y'all's kind of follow-up process after you have gone and helped clients through that? What kind of differentiates you guys in that realm?
So after we replace a roof, we like to give like one phone call after the next big rainstorm just to double check, make sure everything's good to go. Nothing's leaking, anything like that. If it is, obviously we're going to drop what we're doing, go out there, check it out. But I mean, as far as that goes, like anything that you call me for in the next 2 years, as long as it's not like a tree fell through the roof or, someone fired a gun into the air and a bullet came through your roof, surprisingly common actually.
Yeah.
Like we're going to replace it, no cost to you guys. We take care of it because it's our roof. We own it for the next 3 years after we install it.
Okay. Interesting. So doing a little switch up here, you do a lot of all of our roof inspections for all of our clients. So if anyone calls and gets a home inspection, they want to have that roof thoroughly inspected by a certified contractor. That certified contractor is you.
Yeah.
So what are some kind of common issues that you find, doing those inspections for us or even just on your own for IES?
So, I mean, on the residential side, I would say it's almost always like a flashing issue. So whether that's around a pipe boot, whether that's around a chimney, whether that's around, like a mansard or anything like that, it's almost always flashing. And the reason is flashing takes a little bit of forethought, to plan out and make it happen.
Right.
So for a lot of roofing companies out there, right, they're, rushing through it. And as soon as they get finished, the day's over.
Right.
With us, we want to make sure everything's done right and done the right way, right? We rather, get it done so we never have to get called back out for it.
Right.
So as far as that goes, yeah, it's mainly flashing, and then you'll go up on it and you'll see, like, I did one I think for you guys like 2 or 3 weeks ago. The flashing around an HVAC vent had started leaking, and then they had gone up there and sprayed Flex Seal around it.
Hey man, that's a great product, right?
I mean,
there.
hey, listen, if you're trying to make a screen door into a boat, yes, absolutely. On a roof, maybe not so much.
Yeah,
but,
right.
Yeah. So it's almost always flashing related. On flat roofs, a big thing that you'll see is, especially on like an older one, they'll coat them. And as much as I like coatings, and I do like coatings, they're a quality product sometimes. On an older like PVC or TPO roof, they don't necessarily adhere to the membrane itself. So then they'll over time separate.
Right.
And then you've got water going in under your coating.
Yeah, kind of defeats the purpose.
Exactly. It 100% defeats the purpose.
Right. So with like flashings, things like that, I mean, obviously it differentiates case by case, but like, is that typically a really expensive repair for a homeowner to get, done?
I mean, it all depends. So I'll give you an example. So I'm working up a quote for an apartment complex. We're reflashing the chimney. It's 2 stories. We're going to be at like $1,100. Right. So it's not horrible.
Right.
But it's not necessarily the cheapest thing either, which is why if you're buying a home, definitely you should have it checked out before rather than after.
Yeah. I mean, roofs are definitely one of those big ticket items. And that's why we got you to start doing those roof inspections is, especially on a day like today, our guys are still out doing home inspections, but it is rainy. It is wet. It is unsafe for anyone to get up on that roof. I mean, you're not even getting up on roofs today. So if you're not going to do it, our inspectors definitely aren't going to be getting up there as a means of, safety. Yeah. Right. So with that being such a big ticket item, it's been a huge resource to our clients for you to be able to go out there and do that, and so we've got someone that does the same with HVAC. We don't move panels and look into certain things, hook up gauges and all that good stuff. So having them to be able to look at that stuff and go way more in depth than just your typical home inspector can has been super valuable to all of our clients. And it's not even necessarily an age issue either. I mean, I did one for you guys 3 or 4 weeks ago. And like so many of the details were wrong on it. Like they had 750s that were upside down, so they were like shoving water in. They had like trim nails where they should have had like just regular nails and then covered with caulking. And the crazy part about it was, I mean, this roof was 2 years old, right? So it's not just on old roofs that I would advise you get a roof report on either. Right. Like, even if it's just a clean bill of health, like just the peace of mind, I think is, invaluable. Yeah, no, I agree. And touching on that, I mean, how often do you see issues with, obviously a new roof, but new builds in general? You kind of expect that to be like a brand new, driving it off the lot, it's in good shape kind of thing. But obviously we on the home inspector side of things see a lot of issues with new builds, not maybe as often as you do with some older homes, but how often do you see that on the roofing side?
So, new builds are a hard one because sometimes they're totally fine, right? But sometimes on a new build you have, well, I'll put it to you this way. So the margins in new construction roofing are so low that like, unless someone specifically calls us, asks for it, like we won't build like tract homes. Like there's just no money in it. And there's no money for taking your time and doing it the right way. Right. They want to rush through everything. Especially on a new build, I would say go for it. Yeah. Right. Like it's in the long run, it's not going to hurt you. Right. It's a couple of bucks just to get it done. Yeah. But, I mean, I think I've done 3 or 4 for you guys in the last month and a half. At least 50% of them had something wrong. Yeah. Maybe it wasn't a huge issue. Yeah. Right. But in roofing, small problems turn into big problems if you don't get them fixed. Yeah.
And even if you're looking at, maybe just $1,000 repair, it's not the worst repair in the world to have to stomach. But if you're paying, $175 or something like that to get the roof inspected, and you can put that cost back off onto the seller there, and you don't have to pay to fix it, then that's a huge savings, right?
Exactly. And I mean, it's not always $1,000 repair either. Right. I mean, especially on like houses that are like 5-10 years old, which just needs like a little tune up, you're at like $200 or $300.
Yeah.
Right. It's nothing crazy.
Yeah.
But if you let it go, your decking starts to rot, your roof starts to sag. Like it becomes a big issue if you don't catch it early.
Definitely. So, I mean, being up on roofs all day and being on new ones, old ones, this, that, the other. I actually saw a video of a buddy of mine who also works in the roofing industry where someone had installed a skylight onto their roof, and they clearly used YouTube directory or YouTube EDU to educate themselves on how to do it. I mean, there was missing shingles all over the place. You could tell that this was not a professional job that was done on this roof. I'm curious, what is your most interesting DIY, maybe not totally right fix or install that someone's done?
Interesting DIY. That's a good one. Well, I mean, so you've got tarps that overstay their welcome on roofs, right? You've got Flex Seal, right? That's another.
How often do you see something like that?
So I'm only saying Flex Seal specifically because he told me he sprayed Flex Seal around it, right? And I was like, that wasn't right. And he was like, I'm not a roofer. And I'm like, well, why didn't you call one? That was your job.
Yeah. Well, hey, Flex Seal solves all, man.
I guess Flex Seal solves all. Most interesting DIY. I got one for you. So it's an apartment complex in Greenville. I'm not going to tell you which one it is.
I would hope not.
Yeah. So they have an old, like, flat roof, right? They called me out there to quote it. I gave them a quote for it. It was in 5-figure range.
Right.
It wasn't cheap.
Right.
They were like, we don't have the money to fix it. I was like, well, there's no patching it, right? Because like I said earlier, it's an older PVC roof. The plasticizers in it have degraded to the point where they can't, plasticize anymore.
Right.
They had a company come out. And this company, they, I guess they, purported themselves to be a reputable company. They came out, they cut a big old strip out of it, right? They put down the wrong membrane, right? And then they tried to weld it together. It wouldn't weld because TPO and PVC don't weld, right? They don't like each other.
Yeah.
And then they left, right? So I went up there and I was just checking it out because I'm friends with the apartment manager. Well, you could, take your arm and stick it under the piece that they put in there, right? So they went from, a tiny leak
to now a big leak.
Right? So I went to her and I said, hey, I like you guys. Don't pay them until it rains. She was like, what do you mean? I was like, it's not going to hold. Don't pay them until it rains. Right? We'll come to find out, it didn't hold, right? It just leaked. So instead of a pinhole leak, they now had, hundreds of gallons in the apartment below.
Right.
So I was thinking, in my mind, I'm like, hey, this roof sold. Like, let's get it. Nope. They came back out. They fixed it again.
That's called job security there.
That's job security. Exactly. They welded the seams together. They taped the seams together with butyl-backed flashing tape. And then elastomeric from Home Depot. Excuse me. You could tell it was Home Depot because they left a Home Depot bucket up on the roof. So I told the apartment manager again, I was like, hey, maybe it gives you 6 months, right? I can't guarantee anything. It's not my work. I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
Maybe it gives you 6 months. So I went back like 8 months later and I said, hey, what's going on with that patch? And she was like, started leaking like 2 months ago. I was like, hold on. So I said 8 months ago that you had 6 months and 2 months ago it started leaking. And she was like, listen, I don't want to talk about it. Right. It's just, no, but we're still good friends. So
did they award you? Did they at least give you the opportunity to fix it?
No, not yet. They're still.
You can lead a horse to water, man.
I know, man. They're still going back and forth, and we will have it shortly.
Yeah.
But as of right now, they one thing, especially on like apartment complexes, that they have a problem with is like throwing good money after bad.
Yeah.
Right. So they go with the cheapest fix. Well, in the long run, you're going to end up spending more because you have to do it the right way anyway. And it can be the same way with homeowners too. You know what I mean? If you keep doing like putting off repairs, eventually it'll bite you. And eventually you'll need a whole new roof.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see that. And I could see that being especially hard to deal with maybe like corporate companies just because, you know, they're worried about their bottom line, which is understandable. But, you know, you just want to shake them sometimes. Be like, look, if you just did this right the first time, you'll save money. I promise you. I promise you.
You would never have to spend money on it again.
Yeah.
For like 30 years.
Yeah. But, you know, like I said, you can lead a horse to water.
I know. It's crazy.
Something else you had told me in the past, and correct me if I'm wrong in this, but being a roofer in South Carolina is kind of like the Wild Wild West. You know, I believe you told me that I could just pick up and go get me a ladder. And
that's Georgia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good. So we have some regulations here in South
we do
Carolina.
have regulations here.
Good to know. Good to know.
So Georgia, their licensing requirements are non-existent, and their insurance requirements are pretty lax. So you'll see companies like, especially out towards like Anderson, like coming in, and they're, you know, especially after a hailstorm, like they'll give quotes and everything else.
Right.
But they're not licensed. They're not insured. Right, in the state of South Carolina. So at the end of the day, like if something goes wrong, they're gone.
Yep.
Right. Because they have nothing tying them here.
Yeah.
Right. And there are legitimate like good companies out of Georgia that have South Carolina licenses.
Right.
And insurance. Right. I'm not knocking those guys. I'm knocking your guys who, you know, they just pop up for a hailstorm. You know, they're here while it lasts, and then they're out of here.
Yeah.
But they're not pulling permits. You know, they don't have the right insurance. They don't have the right licensing. And at the end of the day, like, you know, what is that going to do for you in the long run?
Yeah. Yeah. That's very true.
You know, I mean, if you're in like Greenville proper, they require a permit for every roof that you do in Greenville. Right? You have a hailstorm blow through. They think they can sneak one by. They tear off your roof. Inspector comes by and puts a stop work order on the door. What's going to happen?
Yeah.
You're going to leave your roof open while they go figure out how to get their license and insurance. And then,
oh my gosh. That would be such a nightmare.
And you've probably already given them their half down or whatever. And then, you know, you're up a creek.
Yeah. Yeah. And not the good creek.
No, a horrible creek. It's a bad creek to be in.
Well, so that kind of covers, and I'm sure we'll dive back into some roofing talk here in a little bit, but I always like to kind of, you know, shift gears a little bit later on into the podcast and talk about some more casual, normal people conversations. So what is some stuff that you enjoy kind of doing during your free time around the Upstate? I know you were trying to get me to play hooky the other week and go wakeboarding.
I was. You wouldn't do it with me.
I know. Dave, if you're listening to this, I was a prudent and very dedicated employee.
That's true. He deserves a raise, actually.
Did not go wakeboarding on a beautiful Friday afternoon. So
it was the perfect Friday.
You know, it really was. I was driving around going to another office, and I was like, dang, it would be really sweet to be.
I know, dude. I know. So I'm still a big fan of board sports.
Right.
As a almost 30 something. So skateboarding, wakeboarding, snowboarding, you know, whole nine. I don't do it as much as I want to, but I've got a wife, a dog, and 2 cats at home.
Nice.
So we kind of just hang out with them. Honestly, we're pretty boring, man.
Yeah, I've noticed that I am becoming more like that as I grow later into my years.
Just happens.
I'm just like, it's Friday, like last Friday, great example, beautiful day. And you know what I did with my afternoon? I went home, made some food, you know, maybe had a couple beers and watched some TV with the dog. That was about it. You know, very uneventful Friday night, but
I know.
Couldn't beat it with a stick in my eyes.
Dude, it's just the older I get, the more I'm like, going out seems like a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and it's so expensive now these days,
It's so expensive. I know.
You know, you go and get, even if you're just getting some appetizers and a drink or two or something, you know, and especially in your case, taking the missus out, you're not leaving without spending at least $150.
Yeah, easy.
And that's just appetizers and drinks.
That's just appetizers and drinks.
You know, you get dinner, you're definitely spending over $200 at least.
No, we, you know, and I think the older I get, the more I get frustrated with restaurants too. And I sound like such a curmudgeon right now. So, but I can't stand like spending good money on like mediocre food either. Like it makes me irrationally mad, Blake.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'm just getting old. It's got to be what it is.
Do you value yourself? Do you see yourself as a pretty good cook?
Yeah, I do.
So that's got to be why, you know, because I pride myself on being able to make a pretty good home cooked meal as well. Yeah. So when I go out and I'm like, this burger is incredibly average. You know, I could do a way better burger than this. And you're spending like $15 on that burger. And it does kind of make you sick to your stomach that you're paying for this burger. And then, you know, it's just, mediocre at best.
That's why I won't go to Subway.
Oh,
I can't stand Subway, bro.
Subway. I love Subway, but
it's just a sandwich, and it's like $12 now for a sandwich.
I know that's the real crime in my opinion. Is it used
What
to be
happened
$5
with
foot longs,
Exactly.
and now it's $6 6 inches.
Is it?
Yeah, that's the promotion.
That is inflation.
Now. That's right.
Yeah,
inflation has gotten the best of even Subway.
I know.
Even Subway,
and it's still not that good.
No.
I mean,
it's average at best.
Average at best.
If you want a good sub,
sure.
where are you going to go if you're going to get a good sub?
Substation 2. Substation 2 makes a good sub for sure.
Yeah.
So does Ingles.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Do they have? I think it's because they have the Boar's Head deli meat. I think that makes.
I think so too.
A way better sandwich.
They also have like Boar's Head like sauces and condiments though.
Yeah.
It's a high quality condiment.
Elite.
Yeah.
You know, you can't beat that. Publix too. Publix oh my gosh. A Publix sub is just awesome.
Yeah. Ingles has really good fried chicken too. I don't know if you've eaten their fried chicken recently.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm more of a Publix guy when it comes to fried chicken, but Ingles is definitely up there in terms of competing with them.
Yeah.
I will not knock them for that. So we always like to kind of conclude the podcast with just like 3 random questions, right? None of these are scripted. None of these are something that I've really put any thought about prior to you walking in the door. One of them I know that you have a little bit of insight in on, so I may start out with that, kind of ease you into it. But 3 just totally random off the wall questions.
Go for it.
And we want your raw, just raw answer on it. So first,
Number 1.
and this is a great one in my opinion for all you old school hip hop R&B fans out there. If you're gonna choose one,
Tupac.
Not Tupac. Outkast. Bone Thugs and Harmony. Who do I want to put in as my third?
It's got to be a rap duo.
A rap duo?
Yeah. Isn't Bone Thugs a rap duo?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I was thinking, maybe UGK or something like that.
I would
some
say
different vibes in there for sure.
That is some different vibes. Yeah, that's all over the board, bro.
I like to challenge my audience.
I would say
my guests
for singles, right? I think you got to give it to Outkast.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think for overall catalog, you got to give it to Bone Thugs.
Yeah, that's the perfect answer there.
Yeah,
perfect answer. In my humble opinion. So all of you that are at home or at the office listening to this, feel free to throw on some of those tunes. Give us a little shout out. Tell us which one you're listening to, because
regulators mount up.
Maybe you give us one that we hadn't listened to in a while, and you're like, oh man, I forgot about how good that song was.
Like Hey Ya beats any single from Bone Thugs.
First of the month though.
Yeah,
that's a good one, man. That's a great single. But I will agree, Hey Ya is definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it's
far superior.
When's the last time you heard Bone Thugs at a wedding? Because you hear Hey Ya at like 40% of weddings.
Yeah, pretty much all of them. But you're also a bartender on the weekends at weddings, so
I am. I know. I go to a lot of weddings, bro.
You're preaching to the choir.
I went to 7 in the last 2 months.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I know.
I think I went to 4.
Yeah.
So I'm a close runner-up, but
that's a lot.
It is.
But I had to get paid to be at those.
Yes, I'm not getting paid. So any of my friends out there, I love you guys.
Venmo Blake $10 right now. He deserves it.
Yeah, pay me for my time and services of having a great time at your wedding.
Blake, thank you for your service.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I do what I can. So one thing that I've come to learn about you over our time knowing each other is that you are a proud Texas boy.
That is true.
Dave, our owner, is also a big Texas guy. So having you two guys in the same room at one time is like honestly overwhelming on how much you guys talk about Texas and the Rangers or barbecue or what's cool and what's not in Texas and Buc-ee's and this, that, and the other. And it's like, oh my gosh, we get it. You guys are from Texas. But on that note, I would argue the biggest and most prideful topic that you guys tend to talk on is barbecue.
Yep.
And if you recall, and which I know you do because you've reminded me of this several times, the first time that you and I went out and got lunch was, not going to name names, at a subpar.
I don't even remember the name.
Barbecue restaurant around
I was
town.
mad that you spent money on that food. I need you to know that.
You know, and then looking back on it, I'm a little disappointed that I did as well. Just really dry brisket.
Oh, it wasn't brisket.
I got a brisket.
You got a brisket?
Yeah, I got some brisket. You don't remember that?
I don't. I got pulled pork, and it was still terrible.
Yeah. So, I mean, normally if the brisket is not good at a place, usually you can bank on the pulled pork still being pretty good, right?
Yeah.
This not so much.
Yeah, I don't know how you mess it up.
You know, let's take all of our smoked meats into consideration here.
Yep.
You know, you got your pulled pork, sausage, brisket, turkey, you know, whatever it may be. Let's get your top three barbecue restaurants in Greenville, because I have a good hunch on what your number one is probably going to be, but I'm curious on what number two and three are.
I'm not even going to name the other two. Lewis is hands down the best.
Yeah. I mean, so no other contenders.
I couldn't name you another barbecue restaurant in Greenville that I've eaten at.
Wow.
Like, I haven't eaten at Mutt's.
Really?
Really.
I mean, that's good home cooking right there.
See, but like, that's the thing, right? So, South Carolina does like Meat&Three cafeterias. Now, that is something newer to my palate, right?
And we do it well.
And you do it well, right? But just stay in your lane. Texas has got barbecue, right? Like, why you want to race for second place?
I mean, you know, we're just so many hours apart. You might as well still be offering in some good barbecue while you're offering fried chicken.
Yeah, we brought somebody from Texas to Greenville to make barbecue.
Fair.
You're welcome.
And I don't know if I'm 1,000% correct in saying this, so if anyone from Lewis Barbecue is listening to this, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe they serve fried chicken there. It is solely barbecue.
I'm sorry. How do you barbecue a fried chicken? That's fried.
It's different, but we're on the topic of now the Meat&Three category. So you've got your barbecues at your Meat&Threes, right? Which you claim are you know, nowhere near what your expectations of what good barbecue should be, right?
Absolutely not.
I, being a local South Carolinian, would argue that if you go to one of these fine establishments, the fixins, and especially the fried chicken, are enough to make up for your alleged subpar barbecue to make it an elite restaurant.
But fried chicken's not a barbecue item.
But it goes hand in hand.
Not really. It goes hand in hand at like a cookout or a picnic.
Yeah, which is...
But not a
best
barbecue
place for it,
right? Like, no.
Look, I think we're just going to have to agree to disagree here.
I've already said that your Meat&Threes are good. I don't know what more you want from me.
I'm just saying, man.
Like, so we have in Texas, we got a place called Luby's. I don't know if you've been to a Luby's. Terrible.
It doesn't sound like a restaurant I would want to frequent.
It's terrible.
Luby's.
Yeah. Your sound guy agrees. Luby's is horrible. It's like a Meat&Three, but like solely for people old enough to go into a retirement community, right? So there's like no salt. There's like no real texture to the food. It's all kind of like a paste. Luby's, I'm sorry if you're watching this. Corporate Luby's, make better food. But yeah, no. So as far as all that goes, you got cafeterias. You do cafeterias well. Just, I mean, you know, take the W where it is.
That's fair. That's fair. You know. I'll agree to disagree there. I think that,
I don't know,
overall, South Carolina's got some great barbecue, in my humble opinion.
Listen, I'm not trying to split hairs, right? I'm not a fan of pork. I think you're starting with the wrong animal.
I would agree. I do think that if you have a very good brisket, it does outdo pulled pork. But
we got
the fixins and sides that go along with it are
I'm not arguing with you.
Crucial.
I'm not arguing with you on fixins and sides. I'll tell you what.
Well, so who would you go to if you were throwing just barbecue aside? You know, you can go and get good food at this establishment. You're not worried about if it's going to be barbecue, whatever.
Yeah.
But you know that you're going to get some top shelf fixins to go with it.
I'm going to the Clock.
The Clock. Now there's like a million clocks around town, though. You got the original Clock.
I'm going to the Clock in Greer because it's right by my house.
Okay, good to know. Good to know.
Yeah.
I'm always a big fan of the Clock.
Which one?
Well, I mean, there's several around town that are very good. One, Simpsonville has a great one.
There's several that are terrible too. Which
there are.
I did not know moving here because they're all green and white.
Yep.
They all say the clock on them. And it's like a coin flip for whether or not they're good.
Yes,
Yeah.
it very much so is. So that is where the local expertise comes into play, and where know, like, okay, I'm not going to go to this one. I'm going to go to that one.
Yeah. Or what's that place in Cherrydale? Stacks? Sticks?
Yeah, Stacks Omega.
Yeah, Stacks is good.
Yeah, Stacks is very good.
Yeah.
I would say in terms of your best clock restaurants around town, you're looking at the one on Pleasantburg and Wade Hampton.
Okay.
That is the OG, the old school. Anyone from around town that has been here long enough knows that is a great clock. And the other one being, and I actually think that it might be by the same owner, is probably why it's so good, is on Congaree. It used to be an old Jack in the Box, and now they've flipped it over, and it is a clock diner over there.
What
Delicious.
I don't think it's a clock. It's a drive-in, like right next to Bob Jones. Is that place any good?
That's the clock.
Oh, that's the clock we're talking about.
Yeah, that's the first one I was talking about. The one with the literal clock out front.
Yeah. It's like, but it's blue. It's not green.
Yes. Yeah. That is. It used to be a drive-in where, like, they'd come out on the roller skates and bring you your food and all that good stuff. And now that is not really a thing anymore, and probably a lot of servers would throw out a hip trying to do that these days.
It's probably for the best, honestly.
Probably way safer.
They don't have insurance for it. There's no way.
No, I can't imagine.
They're like a Georgia roofer.
But hey, they would make great tips if they were able to do it, in my humble opinion.
Yeah.
Speaking of which,
I tip the Sonic guys extra.
Yeah.
When they're on skates.
Yeah, when they're on skates.
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Speaking of tips, and I saw a really funny commercial watching the NBA playoffs last night. From Domino's about how, you go everywhere and everyone's asking you for a tip. You go to like Subway, for example, they'll make you your sandwich, and then it's, can you please answer this question on the screen? Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
What are my thoughts on tipping?
Yeah, just tipping in establishments that maybe in the past were not typically tipping establishments.
Oof.
Going out to eat, obviously you're going to tip your server or your waitress, whoever 100%. It may be, right? But going to, maybe Moe's or something like that and getting a burrito and then,
So I think it's, that's a hard question.
Yeah, because you're in the service industry as well.
I am. Yeah, that's true.
So
this is Blake. This is like such a deep cut question right here.
I like to challenge my guests.
I know. You're just asking me like what kind of man I am. Yeah. Hey. Lowest option though. When it's flipped around, lowest option.
So you will still tip in those scenarios.
I will. Yeah. Yeah. It's the societal pressure, I think.
Interesting.
Yeah. What about you?
You
tipping at Moe's? You're not tipping at Moe's.
No, not at Moe's. I'll be honest. Anyone that works at Moe's, if you're listening, I'm sorry. It's nothing personal. I just can't bring myself to tip for it. And that I've been in service industry for a very long time as well. So I value tipping. I value that way of making your money. I help pay for my school through serving, things like that. So I get it, right? But I just can't bring myself to do it at an establishment like that. I
understand that.
And especially when going back to inflation, how you used to have your $5 footlongs and now it's a $6 6-inch. I can't hardly bring myself to pay any more for it at that point.
I know. I understand. I think that, okay, so I think the problem with like inflation and tipping and all of that, and I've been asked at McDonald's too.
Really?
Right? Yeah. I saw that one the other day. I did not tip at McDonald's.
That's bonkers.
Yeah. It was a McDonald's drive-through. Like they didn't even.
You didn't even go in.
No, I didn't even go in. I felt no
crazy.
pressure there. It was 0%. Yeah, there's no way. But like Brewster's, like I'll tip at Brewster's.
Yeah.
Brewster's drive-through.
Yeah.
I just think that's polite. I guess I don't know. They're always nice, right? Chipotle, I'll tip at Chipotle because they make it like exactly how you want it. You know what I mean?
Well, and true. Also, if like the person on the other end of the counter or whatever has a very good attitude and is just a nice person overall, I'm like, yeah, I'll give him $1 or $2.
Okay, so you will tip. You will tip at fast casual restaurants.
I will, but I will not say it's a very common practice of mine.
Now, what I can't stand is tipping for like takeout orders.
Yeah,
I will usually, right? But like, I feel so like, especially when they like, tip 20%. Like, no, you haven't done anything, right?
Yeah.
Like,
you just answered the phone and then,
and you're gonna like act like I'm some kind of jerk for wanting like silverware in the bag. You know what I mean? Like,
or an extra ketchup or something.
I know,
like that.
Maybe we calm down a little bit, but overall I'm a tipper.
Yeah,
sorry.
Hey, I can't knock you for that. It just means that you're a big teddy bear at heart.
I am. Yeah, I'm a softie.
So speaking of, you actually struck a chord with me talking about Brewster's earlier, because I literally went Sunday night, Mother's Day, to go grab a little pint of Brewster's.
Wow, so you didn't think about your mom before?
Well, my mom is out of town.
Okay.
Her and my father are in Italy right now.
Oh.
So I guess they just had a way better, cooler Mother's Day over there.
Yeah, they definitely did. Yeah. They didn't want to see you at all.
I mean, I don't know. I would beg to differ on that front, but I would probably rather be in Italy than...
Did she see you on Mother's Day?
No.
She obviously didn't want to see you on Mother's Day then.
How do you know that the flights just weren't cheap to go out on Mother's Day?
Okay, so she didn't want to spend extra to see you on Mother's Day.
I mean, I can't blame her for that.
Yeah, neither can I.
So I take it that you have frequented Brewster's a decent amount, right?
Yeah, we're
big
Brewster's
personal
people.
trainer.
Yeah.
Hey. What is your go-to flavor of ice cream? Whether that is a Brewster specific or just in general.
So I would say, like, if you've got like all the flavors in front of you, it's like a white chocolate raspberry truffle.
Interesting. I would not have taken you as...
It's a complex
interesting.
flavor.
Have you ever... Now, I'm going to cue you in on what my favorite one is.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried Graham Central Station? Not Graham like a graham cracker.
I'm sure I've sampled it at Brewster's before.
If you have sampled it and you didn't just get a pint or a half gallon of it, I really don't know if we can continue this interview.
Can you remind me what it is?
It is literally... It is like a s'mores in ice cream, but there's no marshmallows in it, right? So like you go and get s'mores. Yes, but it is so much.
That's like the worst part about the s'more.
It's so much more than that, though.
But I mean, like, you're taking out the best part of a s'more.
The marshmallow?
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Chocolate, 100%. The chocolate and crunch of the graham cracker itself is
chocolate
literally
and crunch.
just
Eat a Crunch Bar, dog.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to cut this interview short.
Yeah, because you're wrong.
See, you know, you're just such a prideful person in these
I'm not prideful.
types of conversations,
listen,
but you'll
it's
still
easy to be
turn
prideful
around
when
and
you're
you'll
right
tip someone.
all the time.
Yeah,
you know?
Fair. You know, I don't really see myself being wrong a lot of the time, so.
I do. I see you being wrong all the time, so.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do tell.
I mean, hold on. You think the marshmallow is the worst part of a s'more. You think fried chicken belongs at a barbecue.
Yeah, absolutely.
You probably think Flex Seal belongs on a roof.
I would never do such a thing, but if I did have a boat that was cut out, I would install a screen door and use Flex Seal and try that. You know, I might test it out in the pool first before I went full-fledged out in the lake or pond or something.
That makes sense.
You know, hey.
I want to at this point, just see what happens.
I think that we should do it.
We should.
We should go get on Craigslist after this and try and find us a John boat and make this happen.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right. Well, cool.
Right.
Well, I mean, I think that we've kind of wrapped up most of the bulk of all of our interesting topics, at least. You guys are, if you're still tuned in at this point, thank you. You really are a trooper for just listening to me and Will ramble on about ice cream and barbecue and Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Exactly.
So anyways, I will go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you for listening to episode 5. If you're watching, thanks for watching episode 5 of Truth Over Harmony. Want to thank all of our contractors that help make ours and your lives easier as clients and realtors. You are looking at one right now. You know, we do a lot of different classes and courses around the Upstate, helping educate realtors and clients on, you know, really a lot of the same topics we talked on today, right? But, you know, these guys are folks that are pouring in and taking time out of their day to invest into you and your business and your future as a homeowner, things like that. So, you know, if you have any problems or anything that you need help with in the roofing industry or really anything, you know, get in touch with us. We can put you in touch with those folks. But we really appreciate you guys tuning in for this episode of Truth Over Harmony. For all scheduling purposes, ProTech related, give us a call at 864-386-3810, or you can shoot an email over to the lovely Miss Frida. And now Jen is our new helper with Frida. She is also another client experience manager, so you may be hearing her on the other end of the phone as well. So call them, get your inspection scheduled, or shoot an email over to info@pro-techinspections.com, and we will see you guys on the next one.
Perfect. Excellent, Blake. Thank you for having me.
Hey, always a pleasure, sir.